Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. It started like any other Friday night. Emily and her friend Jessica were getting ready to go out, their laughter echoing through our home as they fussed over their outfits. I was lounging on the couch, flipping through channels, trying to ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. Emily emerged from the bedroom in a sleek black dress, her hair cascading in perfect waves. She looked stunning, but there was something in her eyes, a glimmer of excitement that I hadn't seen in a long time. "You two look like you're going to have a blast," I said, trying to sound casual. "What's on the agenda tonight?" Jessica, ever the chatterbox, answered with a grin. "Just a fun night out. We're hitting a new bar downtown. Should be a good time." "Sounds great," I replied, though I wasn't entirely convinced. I had a vague sense that something was off, but I pushed it aside. As they left, Jessica gave me a quick wave and a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, everything will be fine." The night dragged on, and I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had settled over me. I tried calling Emily around midnight, but it went straight to voicemail. My mind raced with questions and doubts. What was going on? At 2 a.m., Emily stumbled through the front door, her makeup slightly smudged and her dress crumpled. She looked disheveled but tried to put on a cheerful facade. "Hey," she said, her voice a little too bright. "Sorry I'm so late. We just got caught up talking." I tried to keep my tone light, though I could feel my patience wearing thin. "Everything okay? You seem to be having a lot of fun." Emily hesitated, her gaze flickering. "Yeah, everything's fine. Jessica and I just met some interesting people." As she headed towards the bedroom, I couldn't help but feel a pang of anxiety. I decided to text Jessica, asking if she could shed some light on the night's events. Jessica's reply came quickly. "Hey, I hope you're not upset. Emily went on a blind date with someone I used to date. I thought it would be fun for her, but nothing happened. I promise." The message left me reeling. Nothing happened. It felt like a flimsy excuse. I could hardly sleep that night, the betrayal gnawing at me. I kept replaying the evening's events, trying to piece together what I'd been told and what I knew deep down. The next morning, I confronted Emily over breakfast. She was sipping her coffee, clearly trying to act nonchalant. "Emily," I began, my voice steely, "Jessica told me about the blind date last night." "How could you do that?" Emily's face turned pale, and she set her coffee mug down with a shaky hand. "It was supposed to be a harmless night out. I didn't think it would be a big deal." "A harmless night?" I pressed. "It feels like a huge deal to me. I need to know why you thought it was okay to go out with someone like that." Emily sighed, looking away. "Nothing happened. It was just dinner and drinks. I didn't think it was something to worry about." I wanted to believe her, but the trust had been shattered. "I need some time to think. This isn't just about the date. It's about what this means for us." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Please don't overreact. I didn't mean to hurt you," but her words felt hollow. As she left for work that day, I was left alone with my thoughts, a mix of betrayal and confusion swirling in my mind. I knew one thing for certain, I couldn't just let this go. I had to figure out what to do next. Emily's diagnosis came as a shock, a serious autoimmune disorder that left her exhausted and vulnerable. Despite the overwhelming emotional turmoil between us, I knew I had to put aside my personal grievances to support her. We agreed to try marriage counseling, hoping it might help us navigate this stormy period and find a way back to each other. Our first session with Dr. Thompson was tense. Emily arrived with a pained expression, her fatigue evident in the way she moved slowly. I, on the other hand, felt a storm of emotions, frustration, resentment, and a sliver of hope. Dr. Thompson, a calm and perceptive woman in her early 50s, greeted us warmly. "Thank you both for coming. I know this is a difficult time. Let's start by discussing what brought you here." Emily took a deep breath. "We've been struggling for a while now. With my illness and everything that's happened recently, we're both feeling overwhelmed. I nodded in agreement. It's more than just the illness. There have been trust issues and unresolved conflicts. I don't know if we can move past them. Dr. Thompson nodded sympathetically. It's important to address both the recent issues and the deeper problems that might have contributed to them. Let's explore these underlying issues. The sessions were emotionally draining. Emily often struggled to keep her composure, and I found it difficult to suppress my anger and disappointment. Dr. Thompson guided us through exercises meant to improve communication, but the results were mixed. Emily and I frequently ended up in heated arguments. One session in particular stood out. Emily and I had been discussing how we'd stopped sharing our feelings. I felt a sense of betrayal, which I voiced sharply. It's like you've been living a double life, I said, frustration edging my tone. How can I trust you after everything? Emily's eyes filled with tears. I'm not living a double life. I've been trying to manage my illness and salvage our relationship. I feel like I'm failing at both. Dr. Thompson interjected, her voice steady. It's clear there are deep-seated issues here. Trust has been broken, and both of you are carrying a lot of pain. It's not just about the recent events but also about how you've been communicating, or not communicating, with each other for years. Emily nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. I know I've made mistakes. I want to fix things, but I don't know how. I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was overshadowed by my lingering hurt. And what about the blind date and the affair? Where does that fit into all of this? Dr. Thompson took a deep breath. Those are significant breaches of trust. They're symptoms of deeper issues. However, even if these issues are addressed, repairing trust takes time and effort from both sides. The final session was a turning point. Dr. Thompson laid out a sobering assessment. Based on what we've discussed, it seems that the damage to your relationship is quite deep. You've both been through a lot, and while reconciliation is possible, it may not be realistic to expect a full recovery. Sometimes, despite best efforts, a marriage cannot be salvaged. Emily's face crumpled, and she reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I appreciate your honesty, Dr. Thompson, I said, my voice heavy. But I'm not sure we can continue like this. The trust is gone, and I don't see a way forward. Emily's voice was choked with emotion. I didn't want to believe it would come to this. I thought we could work through it. Dr. Thompson's gaze was compassionate. It's a painful reality to face, but it's important to be honest about where you both stand. Healing, whether together or apart, requires acknowledgement of what's truly at stake. As we left the session, Emily and I walked in silence. The gravity of Dr. Thompson's words weighed heavily on us. The road ahead seemed uncertain, but one thing was clear: our marriage was at a crossroads, and we needed to face the truth about our future. In the weeks following our last counseling session, I tried to go through the motions of daily life, but the emotional weight of Emily's betrayal and our strained marriage consumed me. My unease about the affair never fully dissipated, and I began to suspect that there was more to Emily's story than she had let on. It was during one of these restless nights that I decided to take matters into my own hands. I started by monitoring Emily's movements more closely. I knew her routine well enough to spot any irregularities. One evening, she left the house with a change of clothes and a small overnight bag. She claimed she was staying at a friend's house to help with a project. It was a plausible excuse, but my instincts told me otherwise. Over the next few days, I kept track of her phone activity. One night, while she was out, I found messages from a number saved as Matt. The texts were flirtatious and intimate, suggesting a relationship that went beyond mere friendship. My heart sank as I read through them. The next evening, I decided to confront Emily directly. I waited until she returned home, her face a mix of exhaustion and guilt. We were alone in the kitchen, and the tension was palpable. Emily, we need to talk, I said, my voice strained. She looked up, startled. What's wrong? Don't play dumb, I said, holding up my phone. I found these messages from Matt. Explain them to me. Her face went pale, and she hesitated. I didn't want you to find out this way. Then how did you want me to find out? I asked, my anger rising. That you were cheating on me with someone I know. Emily's eyes filled with tears. It started out as a friendship. Matt was there for me when I was struggling with my illness. I didn't intend for it to become anything more, so it just happened. I snapped. You didn't think to tell me about this friendship or set boundaries. Emily looked away, ashamed. I was lonely and confused. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I shook my head, struggling to control my emotions. Do you have any idea how much this hurts? To find out that you've been lying to me and having an affair with a coworker. Emily's voice trembled. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could handle it on my own, but it got out of control. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. This isn't just about you and Matt. It's about our entire relationship and the trust that's been shattered. I need to know what you plan to do now. Emily wiped her tears, her voice barely a whisper. I want to fix this, but I understand if you can't forgive me. I don't know if we can repair what's been broken. I turned away, my heart heavy. I don't have all the answers right now. But I need time to process this. I need to figure out what's next for us. Emily nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. That night, I lay awake, replaying our conversation. The evidence of the affair was undeniable, and my trust in Emily had been irrevocably damaged. As I grappled with the pain, I knew I had to start preparing for the next steps. The realization of what our marriage had become was a bitter pill to swallow, but it was clear that something had to change. The birthday party was supposed to be a small, intimate gathering, a chance to forget our troubles, if only for a few hours. Emily had organized it in an effort to salvage some semblance of normalcy, but the festering issues between us were impossible to ignore. It was at this party that everything came to a head. Guests were mingling and enjoying themselves in the living room, the air filled with laughter and clinking glasses. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had been building up for weeks. Matt had shown up uninvited, and I couldn't ignore the tension simmering beneath the surface. Around midway through the evening, I pulled Emily aside, away from the noise of the party. Emily, I need to talk to you, I said, my voice tight with suppressed anger. She looked at me with a mix of concern and confusion. What's wrong? Can't it wait until later? No, I said firmly. This can't wait. I need to confront Matt about the affair, and I want you to be there. Emily's face went pale. Are you sure this is the right time? It's your birthday, Anne. I don't care about the birthday right now, I interrupted. This needs to be addressed. We found Matt standing by the drinks table, laughing with a couple of friends. I approached him with a sense of steely determination. Emily followed closely behind, her expression a mix of apprehension and resignation. Matt, I said, my voice cutting through the conversation. Can we talk privately for a moment? Matt looked up, his smile fading as he saw the seriousness in my face. Sure. What's this about? We stepped into the quiet of the study, away from the revelry of the party. I didn't waste any time. I know about the affair, I said, my voice low and controlled. I've seen the texts and the photos. I know what's been going on between you and Emily. Matt's face hardened. Look, I didn't intend for any of this to happen. It just developed. You think that excuses it? I snapped. You're a coworker. You should have known better. Emily, standing a few feet behind me, began to cry softly. I'm sorry, Matt. I didn't want it to come to this. Matt sighed, running a hand through his hair. I never meant to hurt anyone. It just got out of hand. Out of hand. I said, struggling to keep my anger in check. This isn't just a mistake. It's a betrayal of everything we had. The confrontation quickly escalated into a heated argument. My frustration boiled over, and I ended up pushing Matt in a fit of anger. He shoved back, and before long, we were in a physical altercation, exchanging angry shoves and harsh words. Emily, panicking, tried to intervene. "Stop it. Both of you, stop." The commotion drew the attention of the party guests, who crowded around the doorway, murmuring in shock. I could see the hurt and embarrassment on Emily's face as she tried to separate us. Eventually, the altercation subsided, and I stepped back, breathing heavily. Matt looked equally disheveled and defeated. "This isn't over," I said, my voice raw. "I'm filing for divorce. I can't live like this anymore." Emily's face crumpled in despair. "Please, don't do this. We can work things out. I'll do whatever it takes." "I've made up my mind," I said firmly. "I need to move on. This is too much for me to handle." The rest of the evening was a blur of awkward conversations and uneasy glances. The party ended on a somber note, with guests leaving quickly, leaving behind the remnants of a celebration turned sour. In the days that followed, I began the process of divorce. The paperwork, the legal consultations, and the emotional fallout were overwhelming, but I knew it was the only path forward. As I signed the final documents, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. The marriage was over, and while the process was painful, it was a necessary step towards finding closure and starting anew.